Cafe today
on AFR Talk.
There's a shot looking across Hudson Harbor into Lower Manhattan. You see the Freedom Tower there, and we are. It's just a beautiful time of year to be in New York City. I was taking the train to the studio earlier today, and it was obvious that there were a lot of tourists headed into Lower Manhattan. Lots of stuff to see at the lower tip of the island. The World War II memorial to all lives lost in the Atlantic Ocean during World War II is just south of Battery Park. That's just a couple of blocks from here. The Trinity Church is here. The 9/11 Memorial and Museum directly across the street from where we're coming to you from. And then again, we're in the shadow of the Freedom Tower, which in and of itself, every day the train I get off on gets right underneath the tower. And so when I come out, there's the hundreds of tourists that are coming by, snapping photos, talking about it, pointing up. You always see them. They probably think that those of us that live in the area are a little bit weird, but because we don't ever stop to look at it. We just put our head down and get on to where we need to go. But if you're ever in the area and you want to come and be in studio with us, we're more than happy to make that happen. KMCradio@gmail.com. My email address if you're so interested. We're talking about a number of headlines today. This one from One News Now that I didn't even know about, and I'm here in New York, so that tells you what a good job the One News Now guys are doing. But the New York governor last week signed an executive order that said people can change their gender on their birth certificate, their sex on their birth certificate, without surgery and just requesting the sex to be changed. In other words, if you just want to be classified as a girl and you're a boy and you don't want to have the surgery to even change the actual parts of your body, now they will just let you call up the place and change it, and that's it, and there's no questions asked. So Tommy becomes Tammy without any hassle is basically what it does. And we wonder how our country ends up in the stuff that it does. It's because we have very confused thinking. This broadcast is dedicated to one thing: obliterating confusion, amplifying truth, pursuing clarity. And thank you for those of you that seek to do that every single day. I am grateful that you join us on this journey, and I just can't say thank you enough. Kevin McCullough is my name. My phone number, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. We talked about Iraq in the beginning, and a number of things related to it, but mostly the fact that the U.S. is starting to move its personnel around, possibly evacuating a good deal of it. That pretty much tells the enemy that we're giving up. We're on the run. We don't have any confidence we'll stop you before you get to Baghdad. And there's this constant hand-wringing with the president over the last few days. He needed to take 48 hours to think about whether or not he could even commit to non-troop help like drones. And I guess he still hasn't made up his mind just yet because that's not he hasn't signed off on it yet. But anyway, your thoughts on the general mess, especially if the thing that fills in the blank after the equal sign, at the end of the long equation of whatever it is that's going to go into Iraq, if after the equal sign the answer is America gets attacked again because the staging platform was actually allowed to take root in Syria and Iraq, what does that mean? I know that we're tired. I know that the fatigue is there. I know that we lost 4,000 of our best and brightest, many of those, all of them volunteering, and many of those thinking very strongly that the mission we were involved in there was anything but the reality that people like Bo Bergdahl thought it would be. So the question, very point of fact is, did those people die in vain? If at the end of the equation they get a launching platform and they take out a U.S. city, they nuke Washington, they drop a mushroom cloud over New York City, whatever the case may be, will that have been worth our not getting involved? Because that's kind of where the conversation is going, at least in my own one-on-one conversations with people. Let's talk to John in Michigan. Hi, John. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Yes. Good afternoon, Pat.
Thank you, John.
My theory is that 4 months ago, I was hearing people are saying we don't need to go over to help Syria when they were screaming for help. And few people in this nation said we don't need to be there to help them. We said the same thing for Libya, Iran, and Egypt. Now the question is, are we going to say the same thing for Iraq? Because if they don't, I am, because no one is no better. If we can't help one out, we cannot help someone else out.
Well, thank you, John, for the call. The reality of this is very simple. We don't have the capacity to be the police officers in the middle of Cairo between their military and their elected leaders. We don't have the capacity to physically man those voting booths and straighten all that stuff out. But is Egypt the kind of destabilized partner where al-Qaeda can come in, take over the country, and then turn against us as they have declared that they will do in publication after publication for the last 20 years? I don't think that Egypt is. And one of the ways we kind of know that is because the Muslim Brotherhood, which is kind of al-Qaeda's friends, they had control of the nation for a while. And the Egyptian people said, no, we're not down with that. And they got them out. So I do think that to some degree, autonomy and self-determination is always important in these cases. But in Iraq in particular, you have a struggling democracy. You have a democracy that has worked in a few election cycles, but it is obvious that this al-Qaeda group is better funded, has more equipment. They're able to steal and break into things that they don't have rights to, but that they're going to go and use for their own purposes. Is this something that plays a little different if, in particular, they're going to drop bombs on us? If, in particular, they're going to walk a nuclear weapon into our country and set it off in a subway station in New York? Kev, you're only worried about New York because you live there. Not really. I didn't live here when 9/11 happened. This is a unilateral thing that I think all of the U.S. needs to understand. And if they do knock New York down, do you think they're satisfied with that? Or do they come after Washington and Philadelphia and Baltimore and all the way down the coast, Raleigh and Charlotte, and keep going until Miami? Do they keep going until they have forced Sharia law upon the people that they want to claim victory over? We have a lot of these nut jobs out there saying we're going to take America down. And I continue to think that one of the worst mistakes that people make in history is not taking the word of the madman for what he's actually saying. That could be wrong. They could just be seeing things, believing things that will never truly happen. But after 9/11, are we ready to risk that? At the end of the equation, after the equal sign, are we ready to say, okay, mushroom cloud over Los Angeles, we're all okay with that? Mushroom cloud over Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, whatever. Are we okay with that? If we are, then we absolutely should ignore this and go back to not worrying about anything other than just ourselves. But if we think that that's not a good thing, then we probably do need to develop a policy in response to what's going on there. And I don't think it's policing the world. I think it's rescuing a democratic state from terrorists that are trying to take it over. 888-589-8840. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to at least hear your reasons as to why. Let's talk to Cynthia in Texas. Hi, Cynthia. You're next with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hey, thank you. First of all, I want to say that, no boots on the ground. That's good because all those guys, let them get buddies with Iran and let them kill each other for a while. In the meantime, let's put our boots on the ground right here securing that border, because we know the jihad and all that cells in Mexico are coming right across that border. Obama has flushed us to where we don't have anyone watching it. You need to watch that Sunni Muslim president because he knows what's going down, and so do we. No more boots on the ground over there. Let them kill each other for a while. Let's don't die anymore. Thank you.
So Cynthia, if at the end of the equation, after we did she hang up? Little turkey. Why'd she do that? I just wanted to ask one simple question and follow up. Cynthia, call back. Okay, no more boots on the ground. I get it. That seems to be everyone's like common pat answer. Oh, no more boots on the ground. Should we announce to Al-Qaeda, by the way, even if the policy is we're not going to put boots on the ground, should we be saying that in the media? Should we be telling Al-Qaeda that we're not going to put boots on the ground? Is that wise? Because the president's made a big deal all weekend long. Let me be clear, absolutely no boots on the ground whatsoever, ever. No boots on the ground, boots in the air, good. Boots on boats, fine. Boots on ground, bad. No boots on ground, period. I mean, he said it so many times, I think that Al-Qaeda actually did understand what he was saying by the time he was done. Does that make sense? Seems like we're not very smart. Seems like our administration's kind of dumb when it comes to, strategy, negotiating, trying to come up with reasonable expectations of how to respond in crises. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way they come across to me. Let's take Billy in Oklahoma. Hi, Billy. Welcome.
Yes, Kevin, you seem to have amnesia.
How's that?
Well, the reason that we have the deficit that you keep talking about is because of the war. We were in Iraq for 10 years. That's the reason we have the deficit. Now you and your fellow AFR commentators want us to go back into Iraq. You want us in Afghanistan. You want us in Syria. You want us in Iran. You want us in Ukraine. You want us in North Korea. I mean, when does it end? Where does
Billy, I never said I wanted us in all those places. You can't point to one piece of tape where I've said that at all. I've asked questions.
I said your fellow AFR.
Well, don't do that, Billy, because I'm not them and they're not me. We all have brains and speak for ourselves. So don't do that.
Well, that's questionable.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, so you're gonna be like a 3-year-old? That's how you want to have the conversation?
No, first of all, it is not Al-Qaeda that has taken over. It's ISIS. It's not even the same thing, same organization. They are terrorists, but it's not Al-Qaeda. You keep saying that. You also keep saying that they're going to have a nuclear weapon that's going to be dropped over New York or Los Angeles or Dallas. They have no nuclear weapons in Iraq. They have no weapons.
But you don't know what the Al-Qaeda inspired ISIS does have. None of us do.
Correct. So why are you telling?
So the question, because Billy, the question becomes, the question doesn't become what they're going to do tomorrow at 3 p.m. The question becomes, and you cleverly avoided my question as well, just like Cynthia did. At the end of the equation, okay, we turn our back on them, we ignore them, we do exactly what you're wanting to do. 20 years from now, if we don't have any influence on the region, what do you think happens?
I'm not saying we should ignore them. I'm saying that we shouldn't make just a knee-jerk reaction. This is how we got involved in the war in the first place.
That's what I wasn't making a knee-jerk reaction. I'm asking, given the reality of the way terrorists operate and how quickly this all developed, is it even appropriate for us to be concerned about what their intentions are? If they can set up an area where they can do whatever they jolly well please, as long as they want. That's what they had in Afghanistan, and that's how 9/11 happened.
What I'm saying is that people like you, if you're so committed to doing that, why don't you sign up? Why don't you send your sons and daughters
I haven't said I'm committed to doing anything. I'm asking you a question, Billy. Are you satisfied if the end result is they attack us again? Evidently, the answer for you is a simple yes.
No, you're going with an if. You're going with hypothetical, and you're going with information that is not correct. And you're causing people to be fearful of nuclear weapons and everything that's going over there. And that's why when you came out in favor of this Clive Bundy, that nut job, and the 2 people that killed 2 officers in Las Vegas, I feel like you have blood on your hands because you're responsible for that.
I didn't even talk about the Las Vegas story, Billy. Again, you're very confused about who I am and who everybody else is, and I'm sorry. But I didn't even talk about the Las Vegas story, the police officers. And the Clive Bundy thing, I still think the feds were in the wrong. Whatever his associations are was never my issue. My issue is the feds don't have rights to land that is primarily owned by the state. Especially if a private citizen's been, through common law course, maintaining that land for, what, 3 generations or something close to that, 100 years? But nice way to deflect and try to change the subject. No, I'm not arguing that we put boots on the ground. I haven't publicly said, here's my position on what we do. I have continued to ask the question, are we going to be satisfied with the outcome if, at the end of the long equation, whoever is sent where to take care of whatever in this current crisis, if the equation equals, at the end of the day, another staging ground for al-Qaeda to come back and attack, and you can say they're not al-Qaeda. You can say that, Billy, because maybe they don't have the incorporation papers of al-Qaeda, the same one that's in Yemen, which is different from the one in Afghanistan. But these dudes are all one and the same. And ISIS is every newspaper you read anything about this story, the al-Qaeda inspired. Yes, they've had direct mentoring by al-Qaeda. It's just a little more helpful to understand who we're dealing with if that's the way I refer to them. But if you want me to say ISIS, the al-Qaeda inspired ISIS, I can do that too. All right, more of your answers to my questions when we continue. Kevin McCullough, always glad to be with you. AFA Today, AFR Talk, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, when we continue.